my beautiful sweet friends, how you doing today? It's me, Sharita Jones, checking back in with another video. Hey guys, it's time for another episode of It's Hard Out Here for a Temp. Sing it with me. You know it's hard out here for a temp when you're trying to get this money for the rent. You know it's hard out here for a temp when you're trying to get this money for the rent. Guys, I bring to you another tale from my series, It's Hard Out Here for a Temp. This one is called The Temp Who Saved the Big Deal. Hey. Guys, I was placed at a mid-sized logistics company for a short 2-week assignment. My instructions were vague. Assist the sales team with administrative tasks. That's all they wanted me to do. I showed up at the sleek glass-walled office with my notebook and a smile, hoping for clarity. The sales manager, Greg, greeted me with a hurried shake. He was in a hurry. He shook my hand. He said, "Glad you're here. We're in the middle of negotiating the biggest contract we've ever had." Greg was like, "We're stretched thin. Just help wherever you can." This is what Greg said. He just wanted me to help wherever I could. That was it. No training, no instructions. He said, just help wherever you can. And then he scurried off. My first task was sorting through dozens of client contracts. The sales team was prepping for a meeting with Global Tech, a massive corporation that could single-handedly double their revenue. Everyone was on edge. Everyone was just scrambling around the office. Everyone was on edge. "Make sure we've got the latest agreement drafts for tomorrow," Greg barked as he rushed out of the office. Greg just said, "They're in the system somewhere." He never told me where to look. I said, somewhere. And I started looking around like, where somewhere? So I logged into their shared drive, a chaotic mess of folders that was labeled final. Use this one maybe. That's what it said. Use this one maybe. After an hour of searching, I found what looked like the latest version, except it wasn't signed. That agreement wasn't signed at all. I said, "Hey, do we have a signed version of this?" I asked one of the sales reps. The sales rep just shrugged his shoulder. He said, "If it's in there, who knows?" He said, "And if it's not in there, I don't know where it is." And he kept walking. By the end of the day, I'd organized the digital files and flagged the missing documents. When I told Greg about the unsigned contract, he frowned. Greg was just frowning. He said, "That's a problem," he said. "Global Tech needs to see proof that we've agreed to these terms before they'll move forward." Now, I'm new. I'm a temp. I had no idea what was going on with this contract. So I said, "Hey, can we get it signed?" I asked. This is what I'm asking Greg. Greg shook his head. "The client contact is on vacation. We're out of time." That's what Greg kept saying. "We're out of time." I went home that night wondering how I stumbled into this mess. As always, as a temp, you never know what type of assignment you're going to be sent on. The next morning, chaos erupted. Global Tech had sent over a revised draft of the agreement, but their email was buried in Greg's overflowing inbox. No one noticed it until an hour before the meeting. Greg skimmed the email and cursed. "This changes everything," he said. "They've added a clause about delivery penalties. We can't agree to this." So Greg, of course, was upset. Then Greg turned to me and said, "Can you find out if they've ever included the clause in the past contracts? We need leverage." That's what Greg said. "Sure, Greg, sure," I said, though I had no idea where to start. I spent the next hour combing through old agreements. Finally, I found a contract with similar terms, one where Global Tech had waived the penalty fees after a delivery delay. I printed it out and I rushed it to the conference room just as the meeting was starting. Greg looked surprised when I handed him the document, but he quickly incorporated it into his agreement. So he took all the files that I gave him and he entered it into his argument as he was talking to Global Tech. He said, "This clause is unnecessary," he told Global Tech team. "As you can see from our previous agreements, we've always resolved these issues amicably." He said, "We've always resolved these issues amicably without penalties." This is what Greg was telling Global Tech. Then the Global Tech rep nodded, seemingly impressed. The meeting ended on a positive note and Greg seemed relieved. He said, "Good work," he said as he walked back to his office. He just walked back to the office. Good work," he said. I thought that would be the end of my involvement in the deal, but I was wrong, totally wrong. Later that afternoon, Greg called me into his office. He said, "We've got an issue," he said, rubbing his temples. He just kept rubbing his temples. He said, "We've got an issue. Global Tech wants us to provide detailed delivery timelines for every location." He said, "But our logistics manager quit last week." Can you pull something together? This is what Greg said. Can I pull something together? Because the logistics manager just quit. Me, a temp, creating delivery timelines for a multi-million-dollar deal? It was absurd, guys. It was absurd. But I nodded. I said, okay, Greg, I'll get to work. The company's logistics software was outdated and confusing, but I had managed to piece together a rough schedule using shipment data from the past year. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than nothing, right? Hey, what can they lose? The manager quit. All they had left was me, right? By the time I finished, it was nearly midnight. I emailed the timelines to Greg and collapsed into bed. I was exhausted. I collapsed in bed, wondering why I always seem to end up doing these tasks way above my pay grade. The next morning, Greg called me into his office again. Greg called me into his office a lot. He said they love the timelines, but now they want to know about our sustainability practices. Can you put together a summary of our green initiatives? At this point, how did they survive without me? This is only a 2-week assignment, but Greg has been bugging me the whole entire time I've been here. He's been getting the butter from the duck. At this point, I was basically a one-person task force for this deal. The one-person task force. I'm like, Greg, what are you doing while I'm doing all this work? I spent the day researching the company's recycling program, fuel efficiency delivery routes, and partnerships with eco-friendly suppliers. When I handed the summary to Greg, he said, "You've been a lifesaver. You've done an excellent job on this campaign. I'll make sure you get this credit." He said, "I'll make sure that everyone knows that you were the one who did all the work." I doubted that very seriously, honey. But it was nice to hear. Thank you, Greg. I doubt that. Finally, guys, the date of the contract signing arrived. The entire office was buzzing with anticipation. Everybody was on pins and needles. Greg and the sales team, guys, they were just sitting there waiting for Global Tech's executives in the conference room to make their decisions. While I stayed at my desk, my little desk, guys, I sat at my desk nervously looking for an email. I kept refreshing my email to see if there was some good news that was going to come through. After 2 hours, Greg emerged with a grin. He came out smiling. He said, "We did it. We did it. Global Tech signed the deal." I was too pumped. I was too excited. The office just erupted in cheers. Everybody started clapping. Yeah, woo! Whole office was excited, y'all. As everyone celebrated, Greg raised his glass and said, "I want to give a special shout out to our temp who went above and beyond to make this happen." That's what he called me. My name is Sharita. But he said, "I want to give a shout out to our temp. We couldn't have done it without you." This is what Greg was saying. For the first time in my temp career, I felt genuinely appreciated. I was excited because I love to clap. I love to cheer. So I was with it. So that was great for that moment. I enjoyed it. The following Monday, my assignment had ended. It was time for me to roll on, guys. There were no farewell speeches. There were no promises of permanent employment. There was no promises of permanent position. Just a quick handshake from Greg and said, "Thank you for everything, Sharita. You've been excellent. You've done an excellent job." I packed up my desk, guys, and walked out of that office, feeling a mix of pride and frustration. Temps are expected to blend into the background and do all the grunt work. We do all the grunt work no one wants to do. No one else wants to do the jobs that we do. But every now and then, we get a chance to step up and prove our worth. It's hard out here for a temp. But sometimes being the underdog means you get to be the unexpected hero, guys. I'm a hero. So thank you so much for listening, guys. I truly and sincerely appreciate you so much. You are the best, guys. Sing it with me. It's hard out here for a temp when you're trying to get this money for the rent. It's hard out here for a temp when you're trying to get this money for the rent. It's hard. It's hard out here for a temp. It's hard out here for a temp. Hey, it's hard out here for a temp. Clap, clap, clap. Hey, clap, 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 clap. Hey, hey, clap, 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 clap. Hey, clap, 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 clap. It's hard out here for a temp. It's hard out here for a temp. Guys, it's hard out here for a temp, guys. But I love this song, and I keep making these episodes because, guys, I have a lot of these episodes. Because I've been working in the temp field for quite a while, guys. And I got a story for you. Yes, I do. So thank y'all so much for liking, watching, commenting, and subscribing. I truly and sincerely appreciate you all so much. Love you lots, friends. You are the best. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now. Have an amazing day. Love you. See you in the next episode. Hey, 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 hey.